All right. Well, thank you, everybody. This is the November meeting of the Community Police Review Board. Deputy Chief Brixius is with us tonight. Let's go ahead and get started with, well, before we do the approval of the minutes, what I'd like to do, and I think I need a motion to do this, is I'd like to change the order of the agenda. I'd like to move the chair and vice chair elections right after the public comment, and number 2 would be the monthly complaint report. Does anybody have, I'll make a motion to make that change to the agenda.
I'll second it.
Okay. Any further discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Okay, motion passes, so we will make that change to the agenda. So first of all, approval of the minutes. We have the minutes from the May 21st meeting. However, I have a question here. I thought we met in July and there were July minutes. Am I misremembering that? I didn't bring my entire file with me to look. I meant to.
I have an agenda here from July 16th.
Yep. So we were missing the July minutes. We can vote on the May minutes, but we would have done that in July, wouldn't we?
Yeah.
Yeah. So I'm going to recommend, if we've already voted on the May minutes, I'm going to recommend that we table approval of the minutes and that we add the July minutes to the next agenda. Are we following, Deputy Chief?
I am following. I was trying to look back because I think if I was at your last meeting, then it may just be misdated. If you've had another meeting with someone else, because I've only been to one of yours and it's talking about the things that I did. So it could be that the May and July just didn't get, or May and June didn't get transferred. I don't know the answer to that question, but if you know.
I think these are the May minutes.
We have another stand-in.
Okay, yes, that's correct, we did.
That was here last time?
We did.
It was not you that was here last time either. It was another gentleman.
But I thought we talked about Caleb Stevens' resignation two meetings ago.
Yes, that was 2 meetings.
Yeah, so I think we've approved the May meetings and we have not, we need to get the July meeting minutes. So I think, Deputy Chief, I think we'll add that to the agenda for the next meeting rather than try and do it now.
Okay.
Is that acceptable?
Yes.
I don't think we need a motion on that. All right, do we have anybody online, public, Kurt?
No, sir.
And I'm not going to read the public comment section because we don't have any public comments. So let's go to elections. Do we have any nominations for chair?
Can you serve 2 consecutive terms?
I can.
Then I would nominate you.
All right, we have a nomination. Do we have a second?
I'll second it.
Okay, we have Doug. Doug has made the motion. Patricia has seconded. Do we have any further comments or discussion that we need to have? Do I need to step out?
No.
All right, all in favor of the motion, vote aye.
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 I'm going to abstain. Motion carries. Actually, if I abstain, does the motion carry? Do you know? I'll vote for myself to avoid.
Is your quorum 3 or 4?
Our quorum is 4, and that's why I'm asking the
I
question.
believe you would probably have to vote.
I have to vote for myself then. All right, let's do that so that we can move things along. Do we have a nomination for vice chair? And let me make one point before we do that. In the event somebody wants to do it, that's great. They would step in if I am unable to lead the meeting. However, in section 13413 of the enabling ordinance, the only officer that's mentioned is the chair. Is anybody interested in being vice chair?
Not I.
You don't want to? Do you? I will.
All right. I will make a motion to have Patricia stand for vice chair. Do I have a second?
I'll second it.
Doug seconds. Do we need any further discussion? All right, with no discussion, all in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. And there are no nays. Motion passes 4-0. All right. Chief Brixius, I think we are ready to turn this over to you.
All right, so it looks like we have two separate complaint reports. One was just May through June, and the second being July through November. Is there any, I'd say let's take the easiest first. Is there any questions on the May through June report?
I think we've seen the May through June report. This one looked
Okay.
familiar to me. But if anybody wants to make comments on it, I did have a question on it.
Okay.
The question is that the findings letter was pending. Is that still true?
I don't know the answer to that question.
Okay, could we make a
So let me take about 2 seconds to look at that.
Okay.
Okay. I can't say it for sure that it's this one, but I do recall having a discussion with an OPA investigator that they were unable to locate someone to give them a letter. And they didn't
Okay.
have a
So it
permanent.
looks like they didn't receive a letter just because we couldn't get in contact with them.
Like I said, I don't know if that's the case on this one, but I do know that there was a case that we were talking about, and that is not super uncommon, that we wouldn't be able to find someone.
Okay. I'm going to pose this as a question if it's possible to do, and I think it should be. I'd like to see a copy of the letter included with the complaint report if there is one.
I think, so if you're asking to put it on the agenda, I don't know that we would do that because a lot of times there's case facts in there. If you're asking to come and view it with us at the OPA office, I believe that would be pretty easy.
Okay, all right. So you don't think we can include it in the report, but we can see it if we want to come down to the office to look at it?
Yes.
Okay. Would that include a redacted copy that we couldn't include in the report?
I'd want to get a little bit further
sorry,
discussion
you're on
with
the
the chief and maybe the city attorney's office on there, but from my experience in letters, sometimes there's very specifics in there. And so,
Okay. Any further questions on the first report, the one from, go ahead, Patricia.
I have a question. I was just curious, for that first report, the one that was on, where the complainant was on June 11th, it looks like the memo in response was written on June 14th, so there was it took 3 days to come up with the disposition. Is that correct? Am I understanding it correctly?
So you're
I'm going to take what's written for the word for it. What I do see is, so I want to preface this with also, there's various times in the OPA office, some where you're very busy and some where you're not very busy. I think that right now is the time that we're pretty busy. As you see from this report, that was the only level 1 or level 2 during that month, right? So it would be a little bit quicker to be able to turn that around. I also see where in the conclusion, it talks about that the body camera didn't support that, meaning that what they saw on the body camera was likely to show whatever was being claimed and that it didn't happen. And so that generally makes the case a lot quicker. Not every case is like that. And the best example I can give you is if I'm a police officer and I tell you that I see something over to my right, but my chest is facing forward, it's not going to be on the body camera. It's going to take much more in-depth interviews, or if the body camera is blocked or something like that. But a fair amount of the time, if there's something that is being claimed that would reasonably show on a body camera, or we have multiple body cameras, then we're able to go through that process a little bit quicker, because we almost always review the body cameras before, typically before the officer's contacted and interviewed, if it's necessary. And in this case, it may or may not have been necessary, just depending on how obvious the body camera was.
Okay, thank you very much for that explanation.
Appreciate it. I think we're ready to move on to the other report.
All right, so we have a little bit lengthier of a report here, and is there any questions on any of the cases here?
Let's start with 013, PC 25013. Does anybody have any questions on that one? No?
Which one is that one here? No, I did not have any.
I just have one question, and that's the disposition was exonerated. The findings letter, it says none. I'm just curious why one wasn't sent. And the reason that I keep driving on this one, Deputy Chief, is because my understanding is that in the findings letter is where it gives the information to the complainant that they can appeal the decision if they choose to do so.
Yeah, I'm looking through it just real quick, if you give me half a second. So I'm seeing that the original was an inquiry where the same complaint was made. An inquiry would not get a letter. I'm not seeing what the level 1 complaint is just as I glance through it. Because it looks like
It says conduct. I think they were accusing the police officer of lying and perjury. Perjury
Yeah.
would be irrelevant.
Corruption, lying,
Not
and
illegal.
perjury.
Yeah. It's not a legal proceeding, so.
and it may be there in the findings that they're saying, yeah, this did happen, but it's just a switch of terms. I can't tell you why that no letter was issued unless that they were satisfied with that in the explanation. But I think when you get down to the explanation of it, I don't know that would constitute lying. That may be the answer, but I don't know the answer to the original question.
That's the answer for why they exonerated the officer, and I'm not questioning that, but I'm questioning why the complainant wouldn't receive a letter saying, we've looked into this, we've exonerated the officer, and if you disagree, you can appeal it.
The only thing I can see here is that it was documented the way that it came in originally. It was documented as an inquiry, which would be a question about our practice. But I have as much information on this complaint as you do.
Okay. Is that something that you might be able to follow up on?
Sure.
That'd be wonderful. I think we're ready to move on to the second one, unless anybody has questions. Go.
I just have a question out of curiosity, and this is just a general question, but I noticed that Lawrence PD identifies the complainant as by their gender and their race. Is that correct? On these reports?
Yes. It appears so.
Okay.
That's what the W/M is,
Yes.
right?
Yeah.
Yes.
So, yeah, I just wanted to confirm that that's what I was seeing.
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, 014, excessive force complaint. Anybody have any questions on that one? All right, nobody does, I do.
Okay.
I didn't understand what the context was for the July 22nd paragraph. I don't know how that was relevant.
I see July 22nd as the original complainant date. I received a complaint from the complainant and then later spoke with them by telephone. That's only July 22nd.
Well, then it follows up with this 9/7/2024 incident that occurred. I don't understand how they were connected. The complaint was
The
received,
best I can tell is that they were complaining about something that happened previously.
Complaint.
well, then it goes into this, upon arrival on 9/7, the sergeant located the complainant walking on the sidewalk, and then he was not free to go, and then that kind of escalated. So they were kind of like two separate incidents, and I just couldn't understand the connection. Am I making sense?
You are making sense. I read what you read.
Sometimes I don't, so I just want to check.
Yeah. I don't know the answer to your question. The best I can assume is a typo, but
Okay. That it picked up another paragraph from something?
Were they not even related?
Or they're not even related? It's just the same complainant? I couldn't tell.
yeah, I apologize because I'm not familiar with this.
No, don't apologize. I know you don't have all the information, but the point I'm making is it's information that would be helpful for us to understand what happened in the complaint.
I would agree with that, and this has been kind of one of my ongoing frustrations with the reports, is that this is a public document that the public has the right to read, and they get it, and obviously they have purview to it. And when a criminal complaint is put together, we put together a very full picture of what happened. And often when we read these and we bring them up in the meetings, the typical answer that we get is, I don't know, I'll have to look into that, I don't understand. And I feel like when these haven't been reviewed by whoever's attending the meeting to understand what's going on, or nobody has reviewed them to make sure they're full and complete and accurate. And I know you can't include all the information with names and all that, right, but oftentimes there's not clarity in what happened. And then the person that comes, it would appear to me, I'm not saying this is what's happening, but it appears to me that they haven't been reviewed by the person that's going to represent the board here, because we do get no answer, or I'll have to get back to you on that, which just kind of leaves us hanging, and I would say that if the public then is reading these, they're having the same questions. And one of the things that I believe the city commission wanted from the police department was more transparency.
And so as I'm reading this a little bit more fully, I believe this is the same person making two different complaints.
You believe you don't know that, and that's where I have difficulty with it. Is if we're trying to have transparency, it should be a well-written report. And as a former lieutenant that reviewed a lot of police reports, that's what I expected from my people, is to have a clear report. And I guess I would expect the same from the Lawrence Police Department, to provide clear reports to the public when they're presenting these. And I would ask that maybe in the future you address that with your professional staff to make sure that these are clear, they've been reviewed, and then whoever's going to represent the department at these meetings has at least reviewed them and make sure they understand to their best extent what's going on with those. That's all I have.
Yeah, so as I get through these a little bit more, at least the complainant is something that I'm familiar with, of making a complaint, coming to the station, and then making another complaint. I don't know whether the date is on, I don't know whether the complaint was made on 25 or 24, but I believe a person came in and then made another complaint based on another interaction.
I would think that if it was a second complaint, it would have a completely new number. It's a different complaint, but, I don't know your procedures. I don't understand how that works. The other thing, Deputy Chief, that I would point out is, again, letter, none, and I'm questioning that. And I realize that you may not have all the detail on these. I'm just raising these questions. I'd like you to find out and get back to us.
Yeah, I have no problem doing that. I can tell you what's often typical, and what's often typical is that we may be dealing with someone in a houseless situation, and getting back a hold of them is not very fruitful, even when we call them or
And
try
that
to
would be
find out some
helpful
more
to
details.
know. I think that would be useful.
Sorry, I
Anybody
didn't hear you. I
else
was
have any
still talking.
questions on 014?
When I read it as the complainant came in on 7 of 2025. This was his complaint, and they reviewed I'm guessing the BWC is like the body camera footage, is that right?
Body worn camera,
And the footage they reviewed was from 9 of 2024. And this is what they reviewed, this is what they saw on there, because if you continue to go down onto the next page, it continues, and in the very last paragraph, it says what they saw the sergeant using and the physical force in which the complainant was describing in the very first complaint of 9 of 25. So the way I understood it is, here's my complaint, here's the date the event took place, this is what I reviewed on the body cam footage, and this is what was concluded. That's how I read it and understood it.
I think you're right, because I think what I misread was 9/7, I was thinking 2025, and it says 2024. So he went back and looked at the body camera. Okay, that's my bad.
And I would say, too, that I interpreted it the same way that Kristen did, but so on this report, the only way to kind of really tell that is that they changed the font on the report. So the current situation is in bold font, then they step back in time to 9/7 of 24, and the only way to tell that, besides the narrative, is that it's not in bold font for the history. But I'm wondering if there's a better way to identify when you talk about something that's a previous event or incident. You know what I mean? Some way
I
to
do.
identify it on the report. Call it out, I guess, so that we don't have to guess.
Yeah, I think it could have been made more clear in the write-up. Thank you for that. Appreciate it. Any further comments on 014? Okay, let's go to 015, bias-based policing. Any questions on this one?
Let's see, this is...
I had a question, but it's not a major one, so in the interest of time, I'm not going to ask it. Anything on 015?
No.
Okay, 016.
Let's see.
Anybody? No? Okay, 017, search and seizure.
I have a question about that one.
Okay,
The disposition is, and the letter is still pending, and it looks like the case is 2.5 months old.
that was mine as well.
So I was just kind of wondering about that.
Yeah, I'm aware that the officer's not received their disposition letter either, and so there was some follow-up that we wanted to do that was related to this case that is not in the piece here that typically wouldn't be. There is a relation to a second investigation that is a criminal investigation, and we're cross-referencing investigations.
And then,
See, again, I would think that information would be relevant for us. It doesn't necessarily have to share details of the investigation or anything we're not supposed to see, but it clarifies why there's a 2-month gap. Did you want to say something?
go ahead.
There's the policy allows for 90 days and then an extension by the chief or the chief's office if necessary.
you know, but I'm just saying, you could say disposition pending, you know, due to ongoing criminal investigation, or something to that effect, that it would clarify things for us.
Yeah, if I believe if I said that, it wouldn't be accurate. It would, the best way to represent it would be that a criminal investigation was also looked at, that was related to this.
But that's the reason this one is still pending, this complaint. Yes or no?
Yes, kind of. There was an original completion by the OPA investigator, and the chief asked for more information. So I guess the easiest way would say it was when the investigation was initially quote unquote complete by the investigation office, the chief asked for further information in these cases. So that's why it took longer.
And this isn't related directly to any of the cases, but I see that body-worn cameras are frequently referenced. Do the Lawrence PD, do they have in-car cameras as well?
They do.
Do they have the 30-second preset, so when you activate your emergency lights, it automatically goes back 30 seconds or 1 minute or something along those lines?
They do. Yeah.
Okay.
Okay. Anything further on 017? 018? Any questions on 018? No? Okay, I didn't either. I noticed we skipped from 018 to 021. Is there a reason why we don't see 019 and 020?
No, I don't have a master list in front of me, so I don't know what those
Probably because they're
would be, if anything.
levels.
Sometimes cases may be drawn to that you may figure out later are a personnel complaint instead of a outside complaint.
Okay, if it's something we can't hear, then I understand that. Okay, 021, go ahead.
Yeah, it's neither of those. It's that I don't know why there's a gap there, but it's not uncommon for a case to be drawn and then to be a different type of case, because we have several different types of cases. So you all see the complaints that come from outside parties. We also have complaints that would be internal investigations.
Okay. Or to your point, Doug, it could be something that's not at a level that we see.
Right.
Right, okay. 021, bias-based policing. Any questions on that one? No?
No.
022, excessive force. Any questions on that one? None? There's no 023, so 024.
Excuse me, I do have a question.
Yeah.
When the cases are pending, like 022, the disposition in the letter is pending, for example, does that case come back on a report to us when it's finalized?
Yeah, so I think in talking to the chair just previous to the meeting, he said that we haven't had very many that are pending, so this is kind of a new situation. So what we'll do is ensure that any case that was pending that we leave on the report.
Okay.
Good call. All right, 021, any further questions on that one? Zero 22. No? 023 is a skip. 024, complaint, search and seizure.
I have a question on that one.
Okay?
There's nothing, oh, I see. Disposition was exonerated, but it looks like it just went over to the left side.
It did.
Okay, never mind
Yeah,
then.
it was
Thank you.
exonerated. And
Just saw
there
that.
was a letter mailed. All right. Okay, 025, search and seizure. Any questions on that one? No? No 26, no 27, 28, excessive force. Any questions on that one? No?
Yeah.
No 28. 29 is bias-based policing. That one's
Just
pending.
a quick question on that one. So when a case comes along like this where somebody files a complaint for a third person and you can't locate the third person, what's your procedure? How long do you wait before it just becomes inactive? And or is there a standard? Is it just kind of a gut feel of, okay, well, we've done due diligence?
Yeah, so typically, and it's actually, it feels like more common than you would think, that somebody is making a complaint for someone else, even oftentimes when people aren't there. Typically, we try and contact the person who the subject of the complaint that would have had the police interaction. If we're unable to find them or they do not cooperate, which is also sometimes the case, we still take an initial cursory look at it in the OPA office, review whatever video we can, review whatever reports we can, but there's not necessarily a finding unless that we see something improper, and in that case, we would turn it into an internal investigation if we were not able to get the complainant, if that makes sense.
Okay.
I had a question. I'm trying to remember which one it was because I wrote it in the margin here. But on one of them, if someone decides that they don't want to interact with the Lawrence Police Department, for instance, they refuse invitation to review camera footage, is there still a letter issued closing the matter?
So it depends on if they're following through the complaint. So if they're withdrawing the complaint, then there would not be. If we're still coming up with a disposition, then we would still come up with a letter. So not coming to review the video footage is not necessarily not participating in the complaint. We typically try to give people the opportunity to do that. But if they're willing to give us their account of the events or they're making the complaint themselves, then we would still follow up with that. If it's a third party that is making that, the third party does not get a disposition.
Okay. I'm looking to see which one that was. I don't see it. Any other questions on 029? 031, bias-based policing. This looks like it was a third-party complaint because it's a white female, but it looks like the comments is clearly targeting the one Hispanic driver. Is that a third-party complaint?
I don't know the answer to that question.
You guys see
it would, so I'm cautious to answer that too, because the way on the Kansas Standard Offense Report, Hispanic still may be white female because it's listed in a different way. So I don't know if they took this directly from the report. So I don't know if it was the actual person or another person that was either in the car or not associated unless it says it specifically.
Okay. Any other questions on that? 032. Any questions on 032? None? Okay. So I think we've got a couple of follow-up items. Chief Brixius, if you don't mind.
I had pending, the investigations that are pending, and we need the July minutes, and do you have, what were the other ones? As I'm typing on my phone as we're speaking.
The others were, yeah, you're trying to do things at the same time, and so am I. The others were, you were going to check and see about seeing the letters.
As far as you guys coming in, I can authorize that.
Oh, okay, so that's the final answer, is that we would have to come in to see it, because I thought you had said you'd have to check with the attorney's office to see if it could.
I would want to check with the chief and further, but if you're wanting to see him in the meantime, then I'd be happy to provide those to you.
Okay. My concern is just I want to make sure that once the case has been received a disposition, that the person understands that they still have the right to appeal to this board.
Yeah, I believe there's a second letter that goes out with it that talks about the appeal to the board. A second letter with the first letter, like a findings letter, and attached to that is, here's how you appeal.
Would it be possible to just get a generic copy of that for our
That would be
next meeting?
helpful.
Yes.
That would be great.
Okay, any further questions about the complaint reports?
I have a question. I was just curious. Is there a way to see or to know if these reports come from like certain neighborhoods or anything like that? I mean, any certain geographical locations, or are they just across the city of Lawrence?
Yeah, so there's some danger in that in identifying people, but what the short answer to your question is when we put in a complaint to our system, we do put the location of that complaint.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
Yes.
So if you complained about something that happened at 6th and Wakarusa, we would use the 6th and Wakarusa area.
Okay.
But I think the bigger question is, one of the things the board is supposed to be doing is looking at trending data with respect to complaints. So it would be helpful, rather than us trying to glean that information from these individual reports, it would be helpful if we could get some kind of metrics that showed, you know, here's complaints from different areas of the city, here's complaints broken down by the race, gender of the complainant. Here's metrics on the disposition by type. I mean, these are the kinds of trends that, according to the statute or the ordinance, we're supposed to be looking at. And it would be really helpful to see some of that kind of data.
How many beats does Lawrence PD have?
So we divide the city into 4 sections currently. So not the traditional district plan. We used to have that. Now we have quads.
Okay.
It's not exact, but the best way to think of it would be 15th and Iowa makes your 4-course intersection.
Okay. Would it be possible to, that's not real specific, but would it be possible to get the complaints divvied up just by beat?
It's a
1, 2, 3, 4. I'm not sure what do you call them, ABC, 1, 2, 3.
Yeah, so most of the other information so we don't typically plot it out like that. But the other information that you're talking about, the types of complaints and stuff like that, that typically goes on our annual report. So all that information is typically there.
Yeah, would it be helpful if we came up with a set of metrics that we would like to see?
You are welcome to do that. I don't know that that's exactly.
I don't want to do it if it's a
provide.
pointless exercise, right?
Right. So I guess I'm not committing to creating new information. If there's information out there and it doesn't, that we already have and it doesn't.
The ordinance says this is information that this board is able to see. So if we ask for it, I think we should get it, right?
So if it's information that is already created and it doesn't identify anybody, I don't see any issue with that. If it's information that you're asking us to create, we'll just have to have some discussion to see how that works best.
All right, just for the record, I want to read, the ordinance says 13-404E, quote, review any data available from complaints received that may indicate trends, any data. Right?
I'm hearing you, yes.
Thank you. All right. Are we done with complaints? Any further comments? No? Okay. Let's move on to CPRB member vacancy. I don't know if this has been shared with the board fully, but we have 3 vacancies right now, as you can see from looking around. Adam Kellogg resigned because he had a conflict with his graduate studies. You guys are aware of Caleb Stevens' resignation, and you read the letter. And Brenda Clary's term is up, and as hard as I've been trying to convince her to stay on, and we're still working on that, right now she's not a member of the board. I have been reaching out to some folks that I know. I've talked to the chief about it. There's somebody that we both are interested in that we'd like to have join the board, but I would encourage you, if there's somebody that you think would be interested and willing to serve, please encourage them to apply online. And that decision to appoint a board member is made by the city commissioners. Anybody have any comments, questions? Don't hold back.
I always have questions, but I'm not familiar with the process, but I just was wondering if the city staff, do they help with recruiting or promotions or anything like that?
I don't think they actively recruit, but I think what they do is they look at the applications.
So they do the processing once somebody applies?
Yeah, they have to
Okay.
apply,
Okay.
my understanding.
And there should be an application if Brenda's position was coming open, they should have had that posted. So maybe they have some.
Well, I think if you go out on the website, I think that it lists the available openings by board. Last I looked, and it's been a while.
But that's the extent as far as the city goes?
As I understand it, I
Yeah.
don't think they go out and actively recruit.
Okay.
They look at the applicants that have applied
Gotcha.
for the boards, and then the city commissioners decide whether they want to appoint them.
Okay.
I'm open to any input you might have, Chief Brixius.
The best of my knowledge, it's unless it's the open application, it's often city commissioners who then appoint, but not only appoint, but recommend someone. An individual city commissioner recommends folks, and then the city commission as a whole votes on them.
Yes, it is the city commission as a whole. It used to be the mayor had the option to do it, but now it's the entire commission that votes on it. All right. Let's go to number 4, the strategic plan for CPRB for 2026. This was a document that I kind of brainstormed, and we don't need to make any decisions today, but I wanted to kind of talk it through with you and kind of get your input. And, you know, this can evolve. This can be amended any way that we see fit to do it. But I was thinking we're at the end of 2025. We've been working for about a year on this. And my concern mostly has been that I think we've been a little bit unfocused and a little bit trying to figure out exactly what our role is and where we need to be putting our efforts. And so I put this document together. The citations are from the enabling ordinance. And I came up with, and here I am doing my HR background thing, I came up with 3 areas that I felt that we might want to focus on with standards, which are basically what we would expect each board member to do during the year. And I tried not to make it really overwhelming because this is a volunteer position. This is not our full-time job. But the first one was community outreach. The goal would be to communicate the board's responsibilities under the city ordinance to various stakeholders, stakeholders being essentially anybody in the community that has a stake in this. The purpose would be to ensure that the public is aware the ordinance creates a board of citizens charged with hearing appeals of complaints to the LPD. And the standard would be that each board member would engage in at least one outreach activity during the calendar year. And that could be anything like handing out literature, speaking at a community meeting, writing an editorial, etc. The second area is board member education. We met that initial requirement that the ordinance says that we have to as new board members. If and when people join us, they will have to go through that training as well, and that would meet that standard for them. But for us who've already been through the initial training, we would be talking about things like attending an LPD training session, which we've been invited to do, or doing ride-alongs with an officer, which we've also been invited to do. And I've talked to the chief on that a couple of times already. So those are opportunities. And so the standard would be to do at least one of those, one or the other, not necessarily both. The third area is, of course, recruitment and board membership. We need to refill the seats. So we would work towards filling the full board by the end of Q1 2026, which would be March 30th. And then once recruitment and board membership is completed, then our goal would be board member engagement. There's kind of a crossover between that and community outreach, but I think of engagement as kind of leading an initiative that pushes our mission forward in some way. It might be scheduling guest speakers. It might be sharing relevant information from other sources. It might be looking at best practices, what have you. I don't take it personally. If you think that this is ridiculous, that's fine. But I'm really curious to get your input and thoughts on it today, and then we can carry it over to the next meeting and have a more robust discussion at that time. Thoughts?
I think it's a good idea to move forward with that. I need some time to think about it and see how that kind of fits with what we're trying to do.
Understood.
But I also think it would be good to at least, I don't think we're meeting again until January.
January.
To see where we stand with new members. So we don't slam them with it as well. But if we can put it till then we can at least coordinate with them and get them a heads up on it. And if we don't have anybody in the pipeline by January, then I think we can move forward with it once we have a chance to digest it a little bit.
Okay. I'm perfectly fine with not taking a vote in any of this today. I'd just like you to think about it, and if you have questions, ask. Send me an email if you think about it more over the holiday period. I hope you don't. All right. Anything further on this? Yeah.
I do have a question. If we want to do a ride along before, and before this gets implemented, the strategic plan and all that, but can we do that?
Yeah.
What is the process?
So our ride-along goes through the training unit, so there's a telephone number for the training unit listed online, and the training unit then schedules us with the patrol.
Okay, thank you.
You don't happen to have that number, do you?
I'll get it for you here in a second. I only know people's specific numbers, so I don't know which one I would be given to. 830-7000.
830-7000. Okay.
Thank you, Deputy.
All right. Next item is calendar. Our next meeting is January 21st, 2026. And one of the things that we will talk about in January is our meeting frequency. Right now, we're meeting every other month. Ordinance says we have to meet, assuming that we have a quorum, we have to meet once a quarter. I'm toying with the idea of getting back to a monthly schedule to kind of drive some of the things that we want to drive, but I'm also open to other points of view. And again, we don't have to make a decision on that tonight.
Like, I think if we're looking at the board as a whole, personally, I feel like I need more background or knowledge on what officers do and how they make their decisions, right? If it comes to the board that we're supposed to make a decision on something, on a job that we have never done, that we're expected to judge and kind of take a look at something we've never experienced, we've never put ourselves in that situation or that career, I think I would be very interested in having more knowledge of officers. Like, if they want to come and present on their training, like not just like accidents, like how do they calculate and figure out accidents? How do they, like, give me more knowledge of your job so that I can understand where you're coming from and your day-to-day stuff. Like, my realm is 5 and 6-year-olds, and they are all very in love. They love to give hugs, and, you know, I mean, our biggest problem is when, you know, something the crayon breaks or something like that. So I need more education on a realm of which I am not accustomed to.
And that's why the strategic plan is board member education followed by board member engagement. And I think the suggestion of having officers come in and speak is a great one, Kristen. I think we should do that. I think at least every other month. Go ahead if you look like you got a comment.
Me?
No?
No, I think it's a great idea. I'm smiling a little bit because we're about to start a new academy, right? And so our academy is now actually, it's shortened by, the Kansas Law Enforcement Center Training Center shortened it to 16 weeks as opposed to 24 weeks, which we had it previously. And then they go through a little bit more than, well, it's approximately 4 months of field training. So I think that you would get a small glimpse of something, like if we went to accidents or something like that. But I think there's a lot of situations that are more complex than that. And I think if we were reviewing a case-specific thing, it'd be easier to talk about if we were reviewing a use of force or this type of use of force. I just say that because I know that you probably don't want to go through 16 weeks of academy, but we're happy to give a version that can be condensed and shortened in any kind of meeting. So I smile because, you know, we're about to start teaching new people how to do this and there's a lot to it.
Maybe okay, so in my realm, teachers have things that they're really good at. So maybe when there's officers that are really good at something like figuring out accidents or training new cadets or, you know, things like that, maybe. And it'd be, if they wanted to, I don't want anybody to have to be like, oh, I got to go talk to, you know, these people and share my thoughts or experiences. But something to give us more knowledge so if we ever did come across a situation where we did have to make judgments, we have as much background information from everything involved.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Is it something that you guys want to put a list of topics, a few topics together?
Absolutely. That would be wonderful.
Or maybe you could give us a list of stuff that you guys are really good at doing.
Or maybe
Figuring out
somebody
wrecks.
from each of your bureaus, maybe have one time somebody comes in from the detective bureau and talks about how cases come into them and some of their investigative techniques of what they do and how they put together a case, whether they make a decision on search warrants and then how they deliver that case to the district attorney when it's appropriate. And maybe somebody from the traffic division to come in and talk about traffic accidents and traffic stops. And maybe sovereign citizens, that's always a fun person to talk about. Right?
Yeah.
How do you deal with sovereign citizens? I'm sure you have, or maybe if you have a canine unit, they could come in and talk about what kind of canine units you have and what kind of training they go through and their decision-making process. I don't know if you have a land shark or you just have drug dogs, or I don't know what kind of dogs you have, but to talk about what their decision-making process is before they release a dog or before they do a search of a vehicle, or maybe even some of the little bit of the case law about if a dog is going to sniff a car, how much time do they have between the time the officer makes a stop and how long, you know, they have to get there before it becomes a prolonged detention and becomes unconstitutional. Some kind of that information could be very good. And most officers, I think, like to talk about their job and brag a little bit.
Yeah, well, especially as you get both the people in the specialty areas and then the people who are good at it. They definitely like to talk those.
And I see we now have a bike patrol team, or some people that are trained on bicycles. Maybe they could come in and talk about, well, this is how we're going to, maybe I'm assuming there's probably a sergeant in charge of it. Talk about how we're going to deploy bicycles, and are we going to deploy them in January? Because I wouldn't like that. But, you know, during the Busker Festival and during some other times, it'd be great to have them out there and understand what are they looking for and what's their mission they're trying to do.
Sure.
That's great. I appreciate this discussion.
Yeah.
Right, before we adjourn, Mr. Watts, I noticed that you just joined. I apologize for not noticing earlier. Did you have a comment that you'd like to make?
I appreciate your time, sir, and recognition, and I apologize for being tardy to the program. There's just so many meetings, and there's 1, 2, 3, 4 of you. I do have comments, but I'm surprised you're asking, sir, because this isn't a public participation agenda item, and that's one of the reasons for not playing with you guys. You pick and choose what people get to talk about, and then you take to the public you're opining about being insulted. It's incredible, sir. Do you really want me to make some comments? Because I'm happy to do so.
If you would like to make some comments, you have a few minutes to do before we adjourn.
I appreciate the opportunity. I believe in a police community review board, and I believe in one that is not all toots and sweets and happy-dappy with the police department. It needs to be neutral. And I just haven't seen that. It's so sorrowful that over the course of the last 8 years, this group has turned into little more than a propaganda wing for people like Tony and the people around him. Instead of examining hardcore issues, yes, there have been successes, but we have problems around this here town with respect to our police department, and this group doesn't deal with it. You're supposed to. You have been taken aback by certain political ramifications of changes that were made, but I mean,
Mr. Watts, can I ask you a question?
You just shake your head. I mean, it's like, where is our town with the pause on the FUSIS program?
Can I ask you a question?
Sure.
Have you read the enabling ordinance for this board?
I am more, sir. The issue is, have you read the history prior to the current enabling ordinance?
It's very important that you read the enabling ordinance.
I have read the enabling ordinance. Have you read the enabling data prior to the current ordinance, sir? Do you have the history behind it? Until the powers that be shopped around and turned this in to this kiss the backside of the police department.
I really appreciate your input, but I just want to say our responsibilities...
Have you read those, sir? Are you familiar with the history?
Our responsibilities in the ordinance...
Sir, are you familiar with the history?
I am familiar with the history over the last
Excellent.
year.
And prior to me coming to this meeting, did you all select a new chair?
Apparently you don't want to hear what I have to say. So
I was tardy. Have you selected a new chair for this meeting?
Yes, we have, and you're going to be dealing with me continuing.
Of course I will. And you're going to cry baby and pick and choose who can and will talk about what's going on here, because you have chosen yourself to pick and choose what can be spoken upon.
I thought I would give you the opportunity to speak since you missed the early part.
I understand that. You go ahead and tell me. I have read the enabling legislation.
And then what I'm trying to say...
An apologist, given that you work for the Beasley Center. Beasley Center. You work for the town, sir.
Actually, I don't.
You don't work for the people of Lawrence.
Actually,
thank you for your time.
You're welcome. Thank you. All right, do I have a movement to adjourn the meeting?
I make that motion.
Doug moves.
And you got another cop in there doing the same thing, buddy, but...
Kristen seconds. All right, all in favor of ending the meeting, say aye.
Aye.
Meeting ends at 6:30. No good deed goes unpunished.
All right, thank you. I'll get your, we'll start working on some follow-up items for you.
I'm sorry?
He said he'd get the information to us.
Okay.